Hello and welcome everyone to the online workshop of decoding the complex structures with conceptual massing in Revit. So I hope I'm audible. So I'm your host Pranami Bharali and I'll be the speaker for today. So I'll be guiding you today for the conceptual massing in Revit. So before proceeding, I would like to say that thank you everyone for joining in for the session. I hope it's useful and you learned a lot from the session. And next is that we are open to the Q&A, and anywhere if you feel any doubt or any questions, you may drop down the questions at the Q&A, and at the later or in the mid also I'll be taking your questions so that it will be a very interactive session. Okay, so let me just go you through for the program details. So as I said, I'm Pranami Bharali. So I'm a BIM specialist here at Capricorn Technologies. So I'll be the speaker for today, and also I'll be guiding you through for the conceptual massing. Next is that we'll be doing after the conceptual massing is over, we'll be going for the Q&A. So please post your question in the Q&A box only. And lastly, we'll be taking you through the details of the BIM for Design and BIM Guru. In here, in Capricorn, we have two programs, that is for BIM for Design and BIM Guru. So we'll be giving you a brief about these two programs so that it is helpful for you also. And lastly, for the vote of thanks. So this is the program details that we'll be going through for today for the 1 hour session from 3 to 4 accordingly. Next is that before starting, I would like to give you a very brief introduction about Capricorn Technologies. So Capricorn is India's leading design and construction management technology and solution for AC industry. So we are here from 1987. We have 20 plus Indian customers, as you can see, and we have 40 plus BIM experts here accordingly. So now Capricorn has become a Win0 company. So US CAD, from UK CADline, and from Australia A2K, and from India Capricorn, all has joined together to become a Win0 company. So it has become a global company now. So a very brief introduction of the company. So let's start then. So at any point, if you want to ask any question, please feel free to drop the questions in the Q&A so that I'll be checking and I can answer you right there only. And at the last also, I'll be taking the Q&A. So feel free to drop the questions. So before starting anything, before starting about what we can create in Revit or what we can not create or anything. So what do you mean by, very basic, if I talk about what do you mean by conceptual mass now? What does the word conceptual mean now? So as you are all from the AC industry, you are aware that whenever we do any kind of project, we have different design stages, we have different project stages, right? So accordingly, if we talk about the stages or those stages, so if I try to break it down now, we have, firstly, we will be coming with the conceptual stage, right? Then we'll be having our design, development, schematic or anything, right? Then we'll be having our constructions. Then we'll be having our operation and maintenance, right? Or as-built drawings and right. So these are different stages accordingly. So for any kind of project, the concept stage is very important, right? So in the concept stage, what do we do? In the concept stage, we try to create the form. We try to create how our building, how our the project that we're trying to do, how it will look like, right? Or how can we place them in our site plan or anything, right? So that is the very basic of it. So if I talk about now in Revit, so there is a myth that Revit cannot create very flexible drawing, flexible forms. So many say that there is a very rigidity in Revit, right? But that is not true. So today I am here to show you that in Revit itself, you can even create many flexible parametric forms, so that the complex structures that you are thinking in mind, that can also be achieved in Revit. Okay, so the complex structures can be created, as I can say, and I'll be showing you. And next is that in the concept stage, whenever we are in the concept stage, what do? We like to explore our ideas, how the form will look, right? So I'll just give you a brief introduction of the conceptual design phase. So as you can see, in the conceptual design phase, we like to explore the idea, right? So in the Revit itself, we have a massing environment. So the massing environment is a little bit different from the normal Revit interface. So we'll be learning about the interface itself also. So in the conceptual stage, we'll be creating different kinds of forms today. After creating the forms, we'll be making some kind of adaptive geometry. So what is adaptive geometry? I'll be coming to that also at later stage. Okay, so which we call in Revit term, we call it in short form CDE. CDE is as you can see, so it can like give you, it can help you to express many kinds of parametric designs also. Okay, so we'll be coming to this. So now as I said, that if you're familiar with Revit, so Revit interface is little bit different from what you can see. So this is the conceptual massing interface. So the interface, as you can see, we have the main area, as you can see, we have the, this is the working space, as you can see, where we'll be creating our forms and everything. Then in the right side, we have the project browsers and properties and everything. Then using this tree, which we call is the, as you can see, if I just try to annotate this, as you can see, we have this tree, which we call as model line, reference line, and reference plane. Using this tree tool, we will be creating different kinds of forms today. Okay, so accordingly, we have the draw tools also. In the draw tools, you can see we have lines, different polygons, and then you can see we have rectangles and everything, or any kind of curvatures and everything. So we will be taking help of these draw tools accordingly, and we can create different forms. So uh, so I'll be showing you directly in the Revit itself, just making you go through how the interface here looks, because this is a little bit different if you're using Revit. So from the Revit normal interface, it is a little bit different. So now coming to the mass forms now. So whenever you are creating the outline of it, right? So suppose you are making a very parametric design. So you are making the outline of it. After making the outline, now we have to create the mass. So mass can be of two types now. It can be a solid mass also you can create. You can even create a void also, or in a solid you can put a void also. So we can explore different. So today we'll be exploring this also. So these are the two types of mass that we'll be creating accordingly. Now before coming to the examples of mass, you can say, so what do we normally do? We make the profile of it and we can extrude it. So this is an example of mass form. So if we go to the solid form, as you can see in the previous slide, I have showed you, one is the solid form and one is the void form, right? So we have two forms. So suppose you are making the profile. So after that, you can just make an extrusion also, right? You can see in the left side image that we created the profile accordingly and the extrusion has been made, right? Then we can create different loft also. So different designs you can make accordingly, different designs can be made, and you can select all those profiles accordingly. Just select every profile and this loft kind of creatures will be made, right? So in the right image you can see. Then we can even make sweep. So what the sweep means, now you can see in a path. So that is the path, you can see how the path is going, and in that path maybe a circular cylindrical thing can go, or maybe a squarish thing can go, right? So this kind of very basic images that we are showing you, so that you can get an idea how you can go for the different mass forms. So we can create the revolve also accordingly in here. Then creating voids now. So as I said, first is the mass form we made, right? So that is the solid form we made. Next we are making the void. So after making any kind of solid, now you want to create a void in that solid, right? So in that case, you can go by two option. One is the create on face option, and one is the work plane option. So what is the difference between two, that I will be giving you a demo directly in the Revit itself. Now after it is that flexible that after suppose you have made your form and you have created the solid form, now you want to modify something. So suppose you didn't like the form, you want to modify whatever the form you have made, right? So in that case also it is very flexible. We have this tool called X-ray. So the X-ray, what it does is that it will be just breaking that the form into points now, and those points can be flexible. Okay, so you can just change the nodes, you can change the edges and everything of that form. So modification of the form is also possible in here. Now, what is the advantage of this, of using this massing in Revit? So what is the advantage is that suppose you are creating the mass, right? You have created your mass. Now you like your how the building form looks, suppose. But if you just see that that is just a very dataless mass, right? It doesn't have any kind of so to be in the BIM. So as you can see, we don't have any kind of information in here, right? So now you can see that in Revit, what we can do is that after making that mass, now you can convert that mass to actual building elements, right? So you can even convert that mass face, maybe the front face to a curtain system, maybe the side faces to you want that walls. Then you will have different floors in a building, right? Maybe first floor, second floor accordingly. So you can create the floors also. Then you'll be having the roof also. Then you can create the roof also. So the advantage here comes is that you can actually convert the mass into actual building elements. And what does it to help later, it will be creating a actual building, and you can take off the quantities and everything, right? So I have given you a basic idea what we'll be doing. So this is how we will be taking it forward. So this is an example. You can see we have created this mass in the first picture, as you can see. So in the first picture, you can see this is how the mass looks accordingly. So maybe you are having in your mind how the building form will look, right? So this is how you can just create the mass very quickly. It's very easy. Okay, after creating this mask, now maybe in your mind you are like fixed that yeah, it's looking good, let me just convert it into uh, building elements, right? So after this mask is over, now you can apply those building elements, as you can see, and it will be creating something like this. In the second picture, as you can see, we have the floors also, right? We have the front facade, we have this glass like curtain system that we have. So this will be all will be there. Then we have the walls and everything. In the walls you want to put maybe doors, windows, everything you can put it. So this is how the mass will be converted into building elements. And this is how much we'll be taking you through today. So let me just go directly to Revit itself, so that you get the idea of how to create. So let me just share my Revit screen. Okay, I hope my Revit screen is visible. So as you can see, if you're familiar with Revit, so this is how our Revit interface looks, right? So in Revit, we have different tools and everything. Within the tools, we try to make our uh, building, right? Now in the massing, what happens is that, so in the massing, for any kind of conceptual, you are in a concept stage now, you want to explore how your building form looks. So for that, we will go to this tab called masking and site. So I'll just click the masking and site here. And now you can see in the masking and site in the left side, I hope it's visible. So in the left side, you can see we have this from here to here. That is the conceptual mask. As you can see, this is the tools that we will be using to make our mask. Okay, so there are two type of masks, as you let me just say you now. One is the in place mask and one is the loadable mask. So in place mask is what it is unique to your project. Okay, so it will be only in this project only. And if you are going for a loadable, you can just go to the file option, new family here, and in the family you can just go for the conceptual mask here. This is the template for it. Okay, so in the loadable one, what happens is that once you can save it as a RFA file, as a family file, and you can load it into different projects. Okay, so now I am making a unique one, so I will just go for the unique, that is the in place mask. Okay, so by default masking always is very heavy, makes the file very heavy, so always it's like uh, visibility is switched off. So it will just show you that Revit will give has enabled the show mask, as you can see here. So it is just letting you know that the show mask option is on. Now you can just name it anything, you can name it. So I'm just naming it mask 1 only, suppose. Okay, now in the interface, what you can see in the interface, it has become different, right? So all my tools has been gone from here, and we have this model line, we have this reference line, and we have something called reference plane also. And we have this draw tools. In the draw tools, you can see we have different polygons and curved lines and all. You can see we have something called point element also. What is a point element? So I'll be showing you that also. What is a point element? Yeah, anyways, so this is how the interface looks accordingly. And in the right side, you can see we have the project browsers and everything, and in the left side we have the properties, right? Now what I will do is that I will just go for the making of a form. Okay, so it is user to user, but I like to work in the 3D. Okay, so it is upon you where you want to work. Maybe someone is comfortable at the level 1 or any kind of floor plans also. So let me just show you. Maybe I'll just go for the uh, rectangle here. Okay, and I'll try to create. So after creating the rectangle, you can see two option has been popped out. One is the face and the work plane. So I'll just go for the work plane here, and I want to create it at level 1, suppose, and I'll try to create a form, suppose, in here. Okay, and now maybe I want to make this. You can use the tab key to delete any of the lines also from here, and I can use maybe a curve also. You can use a curve here. So I'll just select this and make a curvature, something like this. So this is upon new, and let's see in the 3D to see. Okay, so you can see this is where I have made it, right? So after creating the profile, I have just created a profile now. After creating the profile, you can go to this create form. Okay, I'll just go for the create form. By default, it would always make the solid form only, as you can see. And this is the form has been made, right? Now you can give the dimensions also, what is the height and everything, right? So you can change the height also from here. Now the masking environment is very flexible. So when I say very flexible, if I just go hover over this area, you will see that I can hit my tab key also. This edge will have a gizmo. As you can see, this gizmo works in the XYZ, right? Then I can go for the face also. I can go for this face will also have this gizmo accordingly. I can change the height accordingly. You can see my height has been changed to this one. So let me just change it to 4 meter only. So what I will do, maybe I'll choose this point also, right? So I'll just go for the gizmo here. Accordingly, you can see this is how it's going. So I can use this edge line also, and maybe I want to shift this here, as you can see, something like this, right? So it's very flexible. Let me just show you this, right? So this is how the each and every node, edges and the faces is very flexible, right? So I can even try even make something like suppose I'm making a small rectangle only. Okay, in this rectangle I have created this rectangle, suppose. And I will just go to the 3D, and in the 3D I'll just go for the same procedure as creating this, right? I'll just make this as maybe 4 meter only. Okay. And now what I will do, upon this face I want to create one another. Okay, so for that what I can do, again I can go for the rectangle option only, suppose. And in the rectangle option, instead of using the work plane, I'll just go for the face option in here. Okay, the face will highlight this face, as you can see, and I can create another rectangle upon the same. Okay, now what I can do, maybe I'll select this one that I have created, and maybe I want to rotate this. Suppose I'll just use the rotate command, which is the arrow, and I will try to rotate this maybe this side. Okay, something like this, and I'll just go for the create form now. As you can see, again I'll just go for 4 meter only. Again I've created this accordingly. Again, maybe in here also you can make one another form, right? Let me just go for the rectangle only and face option only, right? In the face option I'll just go for the same one this side, and I will just use the create form this time, and make this larger maybe, and I'll select the bottom face, hit the tab key to select any kind of face. Accordingly you can see this is how. Again I'll just give the height as 4 meter. Okay, okay, this is the something like this. So I'll just go for the shade wire, sorry, shaded. Okay, something like this also if you want to create, right? So this is how the massing environment, as you can see, is very flexible, right? If you want to create any kind of void also in here also, that is also possible, right? So if you want to create a void, suppose maybe you can go for the circular option in here, and this time you have to use the face option, right? So this face is getting highlighted, as you can see. So in here also you can choose the uh, make the circle, maybe you can give the appropriate dimensions and everything in here, right? And in this exact same side also you can try making a void here, right? Now what you can do is you can select this, and you can select the other using the control option, and you can, instead of going to the create form, you can go for the uh, void. As you can see, a void is created, something like this. The same void you can create from the downward portion also, maybe from the downward to the upward you want to create, right? So something like this you can create in the massing environment. So I just control Z this, maybe I don't need the void, right? Okay, I just control Z this. Accordingly you can create now different kinds of structures. So I'll just go for the finish mass in here. Okay, so within this mass you can see I have these two structures. Accordingly, again you want to create one another, I can go for the massing here and I'll go for the in place mass only. Before that I will just make a elevation. In elevation I will just go for the levels. Okay, I'll just create one another level so that I can show you how to create your different. I'll just make 4 so that you can see how to create your mass floors. Okay, mass floors can be created. I'll just extend this accordingly. Let's go to level 1. And now what I will do is that I will just go for my massing again, and I'll go for the in place, right? Now instead of using this polygons and everything, let's go for an ellipse here. Suppose I'm using the work plane only, and let's try to make an ellipse here. And give the something like this. Okay, and suppose you have created this in your first level, what you can do is that you can just copy this to your next levels also. How you can copy it? You can use the copy to clipboard and go for the selected level, and you can select the other levels accordingly, and it will be created. Now the next thing what you can do, maybe you want to shorten it or something, right? So what I will do in the level 1, it's same. In the level 2, I'll just try to decrease this maybe. Okay, so without any proper measurements, I am doing this. So you can give the proper measurements using the temporary one. And I'll try to create this, suppose. Let's see in the 3D actually, and I'll go for the top, suppose. And maybe I'll move this. I'll select this and use the move command. And again, I'll move the upper one also. Let's see how it's made. Something like this, suppose. And let me just extend this, suppose. Yeah. Now what we can do is that we can select everything, that is the every profile that we have made, and we can go for the creation of form. Okay, so I'll just show you that how we can do is that I can just select it, right? I can select it, and let me just decrease this before selecting, or maybe let's make this 1 meter, or maybe 2 meter. Okay, and I'll just select everything using the control and go for the creation of form. So you can see something like this is also created, right? Any kind of form you can make. Now next is that you want to make some kind of parametric group, suppose, right? So in that case, what you can do in the parametric roof, so we have something called point element in here. Okay, so what is a point element now? This is what we created right now, whatever we created using line based. As you can see, we have this straight line or maybe different polygons and everything, but we have something called point element also. In the point element, what happens is that I'll just go to my level 1 here. In the point element, you can place points. Okay, I'll just go for the placing of points in my level 1, suppose, and I am placing this point. Let me just place this 1. Okay, and then I can either you can place another's also, you can, or I can go for the copy option also. Let me just place this at the interval of maybe 4 meters, suppose. Okay, so I've placed this points here. As you can see, these are points, and these points I can maybe copy this in this side also. Okay, let's go to the 3D to see. You can see these are the bunch of points you are creating, right? These are a bunch of points you are creating. Now what does the point element like helps you in here, right? What does it does is that in the line base, what we did is that we selected that edge or maybe face or the node to get a gizmo, right? This point element, you can see we have the same gizmo accordingly. What you can do is that using the point element also, you can make the very kind of parametric one. Okay, so the point element, after placing your points, the elements should be very connected. Okay, so what I will do is that I'll just select this point element and go for the spline through point. So this connects the uh, elements accordingly, and I'll just go for the connection of it. And let's see in the 3D, you can see now it has been connected, but in a very straight manner. Suppose you want to, as you can see, this is how you can use the gizmo. So in the gizmo, what I did is that as you can see, by without any dimension, I have raised it up. If you want any kind of dimension, you can provide the, maybe you want this as 5 meter, accordingly you can try this as 5 meter. Okay, you can write in the offset, so the offset works accordingly. So then again, maybe I will just select this. I will select the use the tab key if it doesn't help. Okay, I will just select this one also. Okay, maybe I'll select this and select even this one. So I'm just trying to make a very parametric one. So this is how the point element is. You can even try to go for the x, and y also accordingly. Okay, I'll just try to create this one. Or maybe I'll just go for this down. And I'll select this one. So use the tab key. You can say this is how something like this I have tried to create, right? So that is the procedure. You have to place the point element and you have to create the spline through points, right, accordingly, and the parametric shape will be created accordingly. So now what I will do after creating it, I'll just select each and every line. Okay, so using the control one, I have selected all my lines, as you can see. So my lines has been selected, and now I can go for the creation of form. So if I select the creation of forms, you can see something like this has been. I hope it's visible to all. So you can see a very organic shape has been created, right? Okay, now I'll just finish it. So this is how you can see that my forms are created. Now this is not the end of it, because you have just created the form. Maybe you want to design some how the facade will look, or maybe in this form you want to place your some kind of waffle structure. If you have seen, you can place those components also in there, right? So if I talk about the facade, in a facade, what can you have? Maybe you have very parametric uh, panels, right? Curtain panels, maybe hexagonal, maybe octagonal. Those panels you want to place in the front facade accordingly, right? So Revit even allows you to do that also. This, in the massing environment, you will just create how the mass will look, maybe a parametric roof or a waffle structure form accordingly, or the building form. Okay, now next what I can do is that, suppose let me select this like mass here accordingly, and in this mass what I will do, I'll just go for the inside this mass, so edit in place. Suppose this is the, I'll just select using the tab key. I'll just select this front face. Okay, so this is a building, suppose stacked one another, as you can see. And now when I just select this front face accordingly, we get this option of divide surface in here. Okay, I'll just divide this surface. So now you can see in this divided surface, what can you see? It has been divided into horizontal and vertical elements, right? So after this has been divided, so this is not a pattern. So the pattern is just U and V grid that we say. But if you need some kind of other kind of patterns, maybe let's explore that. So in the properties, as you can see, no pattern is shown right now, right? So maybe if you want another, so you can go for the properties here. There are a bunch of patterns here available. Okay, so let me just go to, maybe let's use a hexagonal. Suppose I'll just make this hexagonal. Okay, so after making this hexagonal, we have this U and V grid. So U is the vertical and V is the horizontal accordingly. So this layout accordingly, you can see it can be adjusted using these options. Right now it has been doing using the fixed number, so it is trying to adjust 10 hexagons accordingly in the accordingly, as you can see. So what I will do, I'll just go for the distance maybe. Okay, and select this also as distance. And maybe I'll just select this, give the distance here. In the, I will give here maybe 400 suppose, and in here I will try to give 150 suppose, let's say. Okay, something like this has been created. Let's increase this to 200 suppose. Okay, something like this has been created. So this is how my pattern is looking, right? This is how I just divided the surface. I haven't placed any kind of curtain panels or any kind of components also in here. Okay, this is how I'm just dividing the surface, as you can see. So this is, I have divided it into hexagonal one, as you can see. I can do the same for this one also. If I select the face, okay, I have this option of divided face, and here also you can choose any kind of pattern you want. So it's very flexible if you want triangular or octagonal accordingly. Even though it is a bent face, you can see it's bent face, accordingly it will take the component there also. Even in other one also, let me just divide this one also, maybe using this. Let me just go for the division accordingly. In here, use the same one, hexagonal, and I'll just go for distance only. So I have used distance, and I'll just go for 400 and 200 suppose. The same I did for the lower one. Okay, something like this, as you can see. I just finished this mask because I wanted to show you for the other mask also. In the other mask also you can do the same. So this is a very parametric one, right? So I'll just select the tab key, and in the tab key I will just go select the form and go for the divided shape. So let me not give any kind of patterns here. Okay, I will just go for the UNV, and let me just increase this maybe 30 nongs accordingly, and I have 30 nongs here. Or let me just decrease this to 23. So I'm just not doing this by distance, I'm just doing this by numbers. Suppose I need 23 nongs of divided face. As you can see, it has been divided. The same division can be done in here also. In here also, if you want to do any kind of divisions, accordingly you can do the same. Okay, so this is just the sphere mass face that I have divided accordingly, right? So next what I will do is that I'll just make the component. So for here, I'll just go for taking the help of adaptive family, I can make the component. Okay, I'll just go for the hexagonal, suppose a curtain component that you have. What I can do, a hexagonal one I want to make. So for that I have to go to the file option in here, and in here you will get the family. So we have something called adaptive families in here. So what is the work of adaptive family? So no matter how the massing environment is, no matter how parametric is this, the adaptive family adjusts to that component, right? So in here you can see, even though it's a rectangular building, right, rectangular building, but by front facade is hexagonal, so I can make this hexagonal one also. So I can choose this curtain panel pattern base accordingly from here, and I can go for this open. Okay, so in here by default always the rectangular comes, but you can choose this and change it to I need the hexagonal, right? So this is the hexagonal accordingly. So the hexagonal, I think horizontal I have given a vertical I have given I think 400, and horizontal is 200 suppose. Okay, so I have changed this to that accordingly. So this is what adaptive points is. So this adaptive points will directly place in there. Okay, so I need my panel, that is my frame. The frame should be maybe circular or rectangular accordingly. So I can place any point here accordingly, and I want this point has a vertical plane. Okay, so accordingly I'll just place the reference point in this line, and now I'll use this circle option, and use the pick line to set this, and I'll try to create a small frame. So maybe of 10 mm. Accordingly, you can make it into a, like you can change it later also accordingly. So now what I will do, I'll select this profile, that is my circular panel, and this set of reference lines that I have already, and I'll just go for the creation of form. And you can see this is how my panel will look, right? This panel is created, and I can even select this set of reference line only and go for the creation of form to make just a surface. Okay, you can see maybe a glass surface, fabric, or any uh, material. You can see, you can place it accordingly. So I can just hit the tab key and go for to my material browser here, and I can provide maybe aluminum or steel accordingly. So I'll just select maybe type as steel, and maybe this one. Okay, select the and I'll just go for the apply and okay. Okay, from in the same way you can do for this one also. So for here also you can go for any other option. Maybe let me just go for fabric or something. Just go for canvas here, and I'll just choose a color, so that choose a color of something, and I'll just go for apply and okay. This is how it will look. I'll just change the transparency, give a transparency to it, apply, okay. Okay, and I'll just go for the you can save this family and go for the load into project. Okay, so I'm loading it into my project now. Now what I can do is that I can select this same option in here, and I can go for my properties, whatever adaptive families that I have made, it will be visible here, and I can select that. Okay, after selecting, you can see it has been placed here, right? You can do the same for this one also. In here also, you can just select it accordingly, you can place it in here. So you can say something like this has been created, right? So you can do the same adaptive component that you want to create. You can make it in this here also, even though the pattern should be same. So right now it is a rectangular here. The pattern is rectangular, so it won't be placing in here. If it is a hexagonal also, it will be placed. Now this every component, if you use the tab key, every component is you can see, you can select every component accordingly, and I can delete one by one component also. You can use the tab key, maybe one some kind of design also in your uh, facade maybe. Okay, something like this. Okay, something like this you want to create. So I'm just selecting each and every component and trying to make a kind of design. Okay, something like this. You can use the tab key. You can do the same for the other one also. Okay, so this is how you can create the front facade of any building, right? Now coming to this parametric roof that I have created, suppose. Okay, this is using the pattern based I have made. So this is a suppose a waffle structure, if you have seen. So for that waffle structure, I need to have some kind of components here, right? Something that is going into each and every line, something like that, right? So for that, we can take the help of adaptive family again. I'll just go for the file option in same adaptive family. I'll just go for the English, and this is a template for adaptive family. This is the generic one. The later one I use is the former one I use is the curtain panel pattern based, because in that one we had to make a hexagonal shape. So I use this one. In here, I will just go for the adaptive. Okay. So in the adaptive same interface, as you can see, in the same interface, what I will do is that I'll place the point element. Okay, I'll just place a point element, as you can see. So maybe in here, I'm just giving from the origin as 300. Again, I'll just copy this point element to 600, as you can see. Now, this point element, this is a reference point right now. We can convert that into adaptive points. Okay, so now what the adaptive point will do, it will jot in that waffle structure accordingly that I have made, right? So these two are my points here, and accordingly it needs to have some kind of height, right? So I'll use the point element only in here, use the work plane option, and I'll set this horizontal accordingly, this one and this one. So 2 points has been placed. There are 4 points now. 2 points are adaptive and 2 points are reference points. I'll go to the filter option and you can see, as I said, 2 points are total count is, you can see 2 points are adaptive and 2 reference. So I don't need the adaptive, I need the reference point accordingly, and select that and give that an offset. As I said, we can give an offset maybe of 600 only. Okay, something like this. So you can make this offset as parametric also, so that you can associate that with a parameter, something like this, height offset, suppose, so that it can be uh, accessible last, right? You can change that. Now I'll connect it. Okay, how can you connect it? I will use the straight line and use the 3D snapping from here, and I'll just try to use the face option. I'll just go for reference line, face option, 3D snapping is on, and I'll just connect it, something like this. Okay, I'll just change the height. Since I have made this as a height, I can even make this as 400 also. You can see it will work accordingly. And I'll select this set of reference line accordingly and go for the creation of form. Okay, you can see this is how my form has been created. Maybe my board size is around maybe 30, suppose. Okay, and I will just select this form now, and I can give a material, right? I'll just go for my material browser in here, and I will give maybe a wood or something. I'll select a wood maybe of ply. Okay, let's see in shaded, something like this. Okay, now I'll just load it into my project. So after loading this into my project, let's go to my 3D. Okay, so you can see this family has been loaded. Now what happens is that we have two adaptive points, right? So I need 2 points in here accordingly, but we don't have nodes here. So that points will be snap in those nodes, right? So when I select this option, that is the divided surface, when I select it, in the surface representation, I get this option of nodes here. Okay, so all my nodes has been switched on, as you can see. So by default it is switched off. So now what I'll do, I'll just go for the component in here, and I'll place that component. It will be snapping in this point. So regardless of the size, you can see my it has been placed, right? So what I will do, I'll select this component here. I'll select this component, that is this component, and after selecting this component, we have this option of repeat. Okay, so you don't have to place it one by one. So I'll just go for the repeat option, and it will take some time to regenerate. So as you can see, the massing environment is very heavy, and when we use the adaptive family, accordingly it becomes very heavy. And in those point, my, as you can see, in those point, my uh, board has been placed, right? So what I can do, I can I have placed it in my one side only, as you can see. So if you want to place it on the other side also, I'll just hide this for now, because again it will be very heavy. So I'll just go for the create and component again, and this time I'll just place it from in the horizontal one. Okay, place this again, and again I can just select this and go for the repeat command. Okay, so this is how any kind of parametric form can be made. Okay, so it takes time to regenerate. So it's taking a while. Okay, so you can see it has been placed in the other direction also. So I'll just reset the ones that I have placed. You can see something like this. So using the tab key, I will just select the, I'll just use the filter option only. Okay, I'll just use this divided surface. I'll just hide this, okay, so that it will be visible for you, as you can see. Something like this, right? Okay. So this is how you can see your very kind of parametric forms can be made here, right? So I'll just go for the finishing of my mask here. I just finish the mask. So you can do the same for the other structures also, as you can see. I'll just go for the finishing of my mask. So the masking environment, as I said, it's a little bit heavy. So I just place some kind of side components to make this a little bit realistic. So maybe I'll place some trees here. Okay, and I'll just place some human figures here. And I'll just place it. Okay, and I will just make a maybe any kind of side components. Yeah, maybe a car or something. So let's get a view of it, maybe a 3D. Yeah, I'll just go for my camera views in here. Okay. And create a camera view of something like this. You can see. Okay, I'll just delete this maybe. Something like this has been created, right? Even in the camera view, you can just toggle it around. Okay. Something like this has been created. So you can even make parametric roof structures also, or maybe a building elliptical building form or anything, right? So you can try making that also. Okay, please post your questions in the Q&A so that I can answer this accordingly. Instead of raising your hand, please post in the Q&A itself so that I can everyone can see the question and we can answer it also accordingly. So this is how we can create complex structures in Revit itself. We can create different kinds of complex structures and even either roof and everything. And as I was telling, we can change it into building elements also, right? So for that, if I just select the wall option in here, so if you're familiar with Revit, we have these different kinds of walls in here, right? So I can just select any of the wall here and I can select this face, maybe this face accordingly. You can see this has been converted into walls now. Maybe this, maybe even maybe I want, if I want to change it into a curtain system, maybe this one. I will just zoom and go for the create. Okay, and in here in the edit type you can change the distance and everything, maybe 600 by 900 suppose. Okay, click on apply and you can see something like curtain system is also making here, right? So you can go for the roof also, maybe it will take the roof also accordingly. Create roof, created roof in here. Maybe in here also you can create any kind of curtain system also anywhere it's possible. I will just go for the uh, massing here and go for the curtain system, and I select this face accordingly and go for the creation on in here. Okay. Okay. So this is how you can actually change it into different building elements. Okay. Okay. So I'm getting 2-3 questions in here in the Q&A. So someone is asking how to calculate the schedules and quantities for the parametric. So what will happen whenever we created any kind of form and we have to change it into building elements? Okay. So right now I have changed it into wall, right? So wall have certain properties in here, so we have definite concrete and everything accordingly. So we can create the schedules from the schedules option. Accordingly the schedules will be coming here. Same goes for the roof also, and same for the curtain system also that I am making. Everything will be making in the schedules and quantities accordingly. Okay. um then yeah, use how I created the component. So this component in Revit, as you know, we have uh, various in Revit we have like various families, but this is what I use, the adaptive component, because adaptive component only works in, as you can see, this is a very parametric roof I created, right? So in this parametric roof, according to this unique condition, the family uh, adaptive family like um, takes the form of it. Okay, so for that I just use this file. I'll just show you the family template. Okay, these are different family template, but I use this generic model adaptive. One is this and one is curtain panel painted base. So for adaptive family you have to use these two template. Okay, you can use this two template accordingly. Okay, to provide the thickness of the parametric roof also, what you can do, uh, you can directly convert that into roof also, suppose. So I have provided I haven't provided the roof. I have just placed component there. If you just change it into roof, so suppose for example, if I show you, if I select this, suppose I'll select this, you can see this is the roof that I have changed this face to a roof, right? So now you can see this roof um, has a thickness of 400. So if I want to change it into 125, I can change it into 125. Okay, but for this one, for this parametric roof, the thickness, as you can see, if you're making waffle or something, the thickness can be changed from the offset that I have made. But the thickness, how you can place it is that what you can do, uh, whenever I place those point element, make sure you are placing those point element uh, at an offset, maybe at downward or the upward side. Make sure placing more point elements accordingly, and you have to select every point element and make a roof. Okay, make a form accordingly. So you can try it out accordingly. Yes, this model can be exported to render. So as if you are aware, there is a software called Twinmotion. So Twinmotion is nowadays is in collaboration in the Revit itself only. So whatever you are making in the Revit directly, you can just open Twinmotion. It is accessible from the Twinmotion directly from Revit only, and you can direct render in the Twinmotion also. Also, Revit has their own rendering. If you are aware, I'll just show you. Manage. Yeah, in this is the Revit. In the view also we have two kind of rendering here. So render, and one we have the render in cloud. So if you have a good system, you can go for the render. But if you don't have a good configuration of your system, then you can go for the rendering in cloud. But Twinmotion is free. If you have Revit, Twinmotion will be directly, you can install it according to the version. If you're using 2023 version, you can use the Twinmotion 2023 version. It is very compatible, and you can directly export the model in one click only. You can export the model directly in Twinmotion. You can render it accordingly. So if, and again, if you make any change in the Revit model, that will be reflected in your Twinmotion also. So there is a very live linkage of synchronization. And if you are interested for the rendering of Twinmotion, we have the we did a workshop for how to render in Twinmotion also. You can see that, you can get that in our Capricorn page only. Yes, so someone is asking that after you have placed the mass adaptive component and everything, can we change the shape of the mass? Yes, you can even change the shape of the mass, but before placing the architecture elements, okay, before converting into roof, or maybe before converting into walls or curtain system, before that also you can just take this point element. Accordingly, I have used the point element to make the parametric roof, right? So you can select those point element and you can change the shape also accordingly. When I change the form shape, the adaptive component also, it will be made accordingly it will be changed there, okay. But make sure you are doing this before the architectural elements are placed, okay. You can delete the mass in the model, okay, you can delete it, but if you want to change anything at later stage, then it will be a very problematic one. So even you can hide it also. Suppose you are not sure, just go for the hide option, and so that it won't bother you, okay, the mass option. Rather than delete, I will just suggest you can use the hide option, because after deleting you won't be getting it, right? So I hope I have answered everyone's question, I guess. Okay, so before ending the session now, I just like to give you a brief just a minute, I'll just share my screen. Okay, I'd like to give you a brief description about the two programs that we do here in Capricorn. Okay, so one we have is the BIM for design. So BIM for design is particularly for individual professionals, okay, architects, interior designers, and everyone in their final year students also, they can also opt for this program. So in this program, we teach from basic of Revit to advanced. Even this conceptual mass that I have showed you today, this will also be covered under this course. And accordingly, for the BIM workflow, we have a bunch of softwares like starting with Revit to Navisworks and Dynamos, where you can create using Dynamo, you can create even more complex designs accordingly. Then ACC, Formit, and everything will be covered under this course of 4 months. So we have very flexible office hours. That is, after your office gets over, we go for two programs, that is the weekday and weekend. So if you are going for maybe at weekend also you want to take these sessions, so you can go for the weekend batch also, or maybe weekday batch also accordingly. So we help in the going for the beam. If you're thinking of learning Revit and other beam softwares, you can contact Capricorn accordingly. So this is for the beam for design course. And we have something called beam guru. So beam guru is particularly for the corporate offices. Suppose you have an architectural firm, accordingly now that firm wants to change from Revit to from AutoCAD to maybe Revit workflow accordingly. So we help to train all your employees accordingly. So this is an annual contract for 1 year. We'll be helping your any project that your firm is doing. So we'll be helping you to deliver that project in Revit in the BIM workflow accordingly. And if you have customized families also you want to make, so we'll be helping you creating that also. We'll be giving you 4 things. One is the training also will provide for your employees. Then if you have if you're doing some kind of project and you want any help, we'll be doing this, we'll be giving you troubleshooting also and helping you to make Revit families also. Okay, so these are the programs that we'll be covering. Okay, so we have two. One is the BIM Guru and BIM for Design. So if anybody is interested in learning more, they can uh, opt for more by asking or giving us a call or writing us a mail accordingly. Okay, so before ending the session, I got two more questions. One is the yes, Twinmotion is a Autodesk product only accordingly in collaboration with Epic Games. And yeah, if you have Revit, you will get the Twinmotion is free in Revit. You can directly access it from the Revit itself only. Okay, so you need to have Revit for that. Okay, so I hope if you have any more question, please feel free to drop in the Q&A. Okay, so accordingly, if you are interested to know more about the course, please contact us. We will guide you through accordingly so that it will be easy for you. Okay. Okay, then thank you everyone for joining. So I hope you learned a lot and I hope it was a very good session for you. Okay. So thank you everyone. I would like to thank each and every attendees from here. Okay. Okay, so I'll be ending the session then. Thank you everyone for joining.